Hello class, today we are looking at functions and function notation. Your essential question is, what is a function? Your learning intention, I'm learning to identify functions and use function notation. You've got 3 warm-up questions. Can you pause the video and do the questions on your own? If you can do them all on your own, then you know you are understanding the concept. So pause the video and try, please. Well, I do hope you tried. Okay, we're going to graph this equation, negative 2/3 x plus 5. Remember that the b is where you begin. So we begin at 5. That is the point 0, 5. I move, which is our slope, negative 2/3, which means I go down 2, I go right 3. Down 1, 2, right 1, 2, 3. There's my second point. I've got 2 points and I can now graph the line. Okay, for the next one, you're going to find slope. One is between 2 points and one is off of a table. So between two points, do you remember the formula? The change in y over the change in x. Delta y over delta x. So I've got xy, xy. It doesn't matter which point I start with. I usually start with the first point and go to the second, but a lot of the students will start with the second and come back to the first. 5 minus 12. Negative 3 minus 11. 5 minus 12 is negative 7. Negative 3 minus 11 more. They're both negative, so I add them together. 3 plus 11 is 14, and it is negative. Okay, negative 7 divided by negative 14. I know that negative divided by negative gives me a positive. I also know that 7 is 1/2 of 14. So my slope is 1/2. For the last one, our slope is rise over the run. Okay, so I've got to count. Here's a corner of the box. Here's a corner of the box. I go down 1. So that is negative 1 over 1, 2, 3. So that is negative 1/3. If you're still struggling finding slope, you need to do more practice. You can do IXL practice, or you can go into Delta Math and do more practice there. So we're starting to learn about functions. Hopefully this is a review and you remember most of it. What is a relation? The first thing we talk about is relations, because there's 2 different things that can happen when you're pairing up numbers. You can have a relation which is just any set of ordered pairs. There's no specific characteristics to a relation. However, a function is a relation that has a specific characteristic. Okay, so if you got ordered pairs, any set of ordered pairs is a relation. A function is a special type of relation in which every domain value is paired with exactly one range value. In other words, for every input you have, it goes to one and only one output. So only for each x there is only one y. There's only one output. Your domain value are usually your x's. Your range value is usually your y or your f of x. So when we get ready to identify which are relations or a function, which values do we need to look at to make sure they do not repeat? That would be your x values. So on the first one, I've got -3, 2, -2, 8, 5, -7. Did I repeat any of those numbers? No, I did not. So this is a function. Okay, let's look at the next one and see if anything there repeats. -2, 8, -2. That is not a function because this is a relation. Because -2 goes to 0, is mapped to 0, and -2 is mapped to 5. In other words, the -2 repeats as an x value. So it is only a relation, it is not a function. Okay, for a table, the same idea. You're going to look at your x values only. So I've got -2, 0, 6, 9, 3, 1, 0. Did I repeat? Yes, I did. I repeated the 0. So this is a relation. We've got 0 is mapped to 6, and 0 is mapped to 12. So it cannot be a function because 0 is mapped to two different outputs. Okay, let's look at some mappings now. So if you're looking at the mappings, you're going to look at those arrows that map them. So 1 is mapped to -1, 3 is mapped to 4, 5 is mapped to 4, 7 is mapped to 6. Are any of those inputs mapped to more than one output? No. So this one would be a function. Okay, so let's look at the other side, at the next one. I have 3 goes to -2, 1 goes to 0, 0 goes to -1, and 0 also goes to 0. So this is a relation because 0 is mapped to -1, and 0 is mapped to 0. So the input 0 has two different outputs. Okay, this brings us to when we talk about a graph, how do we know whether or not it is a function? There's a test that we call the vertical line test. The vertical line test states any vertical line will intersect your graph at only one point. Remember, the vertical line goes straight up and down. At exactly one point. So, to be able to do the vertical line test, it is helpful to have a ruler. So as I bring the ruler across, I only hit one point there, only hit one point there. But here, I intersect at 2 points. So you can see the vertical line intersects in 2 different points. This is a relation. Okay, for the next one, as I'm looking, as I go across, I only intersect at 1 point each time. So this would be a function. Any questions? Okay, now we're down to evaluating. Evaluating means that we're going to look at what function we're using and what value we're substituting in. So, if I've got the function g, the function g is the expression 2x squared minus 4x. So if I want to find g evaluated with -3, this means that x is equal to -3. That's what that means. -3 here, x there. That tells you that you're going to replace, they're in the same position. That tells you that they are equal. So 2 times -3 squared minus 4 times -3. Just simply substituting in. Okay, -3 squared is 9. So this is 2 times 9 minus 4 times -3 is -12. We don't minus a negative, we plus a positive. So when I take g and I put -3 in for x, I end up with 2 times 9 is 18. I plus the positive, plus 12. So when I put g to -3 into g for x, I end up with 30. The output is 30. So if you're looking at the equation, you're going to use substitution. Whatever's in parentheses after the g or after the f, whatever function you're looking at, that's what you put in for the x value. So for a graph, as I'm looking at this, h of negative 2. When x is negative 2, what is my output? Here's negative 2, I come up, and my output is 6. What about positive 1? Here's 1, I come down here, my output is negative 3. Okay, what is the output when x is 2? When x is 2, my y value is negative 2. What about 4? My output is 5. So, how do you know you're successful? When you can identify what a function is and evaluate functions. So this is identifying and evaluating I forgot the L. Functions. Oh, today my spelling is not the best. F-U-N-C-T-I-O-N. Okay, I think I've got it right now. Identify and evaluate functions.